landscape instead of portrait. So I think, I think I've got it, but we'll see. Anyway, so this is my first YouTube stream, and I've always like streamed on what's it called, Facebook and Instagram. So I'm not like this is just kind of an experiment. Yeah, let me know if the sound is working and everything. Can you guys hear me? Let's see. Okay. Uh, Sorry, just checking it out. Okay, this is okay. Let's see. All right, I mean, it looks like there's some level of lag, but in general, looks all right. So, yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for coming by. I think, this is gonna, since this is kind of a first, it's gonna be a pretty small stream. I think there's only gonna be a couple of people, and that's okay. This is first for everything. Like I said before, I've tried streaming on different types of platforms, and both Instagram and Facebook streaming leave something to be desired. So we're just gonna, explore some other options. So anyway, what I was gonna do today is put together reptile skulls. So I had these are reptile skulls these are skulls that I cleaned several years ago, but they've been in storage for some time with a bunch of other specimens. So I have a lot of boxes like this. In fact, mystery boxes started out this way, where mystery boxes first started where I would just like store stuff in boxes, and then I would develop more and more boxes, and then eventually like the clutter built up and I was like, okay, we just got to sell these. So yeah, this is kind of one of those storage boxes where I've just got a bunch of different specimens, and I'm just gonna sort through it and figure out what needs to be repaired, what needs to be put together, and so on and so forth. So yeah, box has been in storage for a while. So I guess we could just go through. I was gonna go through it and just take a look at what all is in here. Nice. Okay, cool. So, Michelle says that's amazing. Thank you. So, okay, this is a large Burmese python. We can put them together maybe later. This is a tegu skull. It's a tiny ball python. This guy will be a relatively easy repair because he doesn't have too many pieces and they're all kind of loose. So this guy should be okay. We'll set him aside for initial repair. Some jarred things that we won't be working with. This is the first diathanized rat that I kind of ever made. And or the first successful one. I mean, the first few fell apart. But like this guy I've had just for a long time because I think I made him in, I want to say 2015, and he's still really held up. He looks really good, and back then I used to like try to skin really carefully and preserve the ears. So like right here, you can see that he's got like little ears. I don't know if you can see. Can you see? Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. So held on to that guy. These are other jarred items. Wait, these are fetuses. Huh. Okay. Oh yeah, so this is a stillborn garter snake. He actually was born from one of the garter snake females that I kept, and he was just stillborn. He never made it out of the sack, so he's still kind of bound up in the sack there. He looks okay for being a specimen that's over 10 years old. He's faded a bit. He's a black snake, so specimens tend to fade over time. But yeah, he not injected. He looks really good. Let's see. I've got these are various. Oh, these are like parasites. These are parasites. These are Phoela frittata is the chameleon parasite. It's a parasitic nematode that infects wild caught chameleons. So chameleons in the wild will have this parasite that mosquitoes transfer, and the mosquitoes transfer the babies, and then they grow into these adult worms. The adult worms are actually bright orange in life, but over the years they've faded. These specimens are from 2000, I want to say 2016, no, 2000 like 18 actually. So like Specimens fade over time. There's no specimens in sort of in alcohol. Sorry, to specify that fade over time, and there's no way to stop it right now. I mean, there's solutions out there that like work a little better, but they have other drawbacks. These are various other fetuses. That's a kitten. That's like this top one right here is an early stage kitten fetus, and uh, this guy is a tiny little gecko specimen baby. But yeah, he is be tiny. He's really small. Anyway, I think that's all the jarred specimens that are in there. There's a... This is a huge python. This is like a 23-foot reticulated python. He's really, really big. Or she's really big. This is the lower jaw. I posted about her on the Instagram. So basically me and the owner, I was helping the owner take her to the vet, and it turned out that after they anesthetized her, it turns out that she had like this football-sized tumor in her liver, so then like they had to put her to sleep then and there, so she never woke up from the anesthesia. This is just a boa skull. I think it's a rainbow boa, actually, based on the shape. But yeah, it's got more pieces. Might be a little bit difficult, but we could do that. It's a ball python skull, again, based on the shape. Pythons have this, like, rounded front of the skull, whereas, like, boas have, like, more triangular heads. This is a gecko. He's got some dried flesh. It might need to be picked off. That one probably not. He's in a lot of pieces. This is another boa that's in a lot of pieces. This is an anaconda, I think. Is this the No, sorry. Oh, 9 people watching. Yeah, that's actually better than I expected. I expected something like 2 or 3. Okay, so, it's an anaconda skull. This guy needs to be relaxed. So, basically, mammal skulls are just like one solid piece, and the bone connects with other pieces of bone. Like, this is a raccoon skull, right? So, raccoons are mammals, and the skull just connects in 2 solid pieces. But, the other types of animals, reptiles, amphibians, fish, especially fish, their skulls are actually not a solid piece. Instead, they're like lots of bones connected together by tendon and other connective tissue. So when you clean them, you have to just be really careful not to accidentally remove the connecting tendon, or else you get situations like this where you have to glue together a lot of stuff. But on the other hand, if you do keep the tendon dries, and it like can dry. They can dry in really weird positions. So then the skull is kind of lopsided, and you have to soak the skull to like moisten the tendon again to relax it, so you can like reposition it. So on some level, like a lot of these reptile skulls that are connected by tendon, they're like you kind of have to pin them in the same way that you would pin butterflies. So there's kind of a just similar types of process there. This is a large python skull. He's got some attached flesh that needs to be picked off, but yeah. So this is really sharp teeth down here. So a lot of times, like people, like okay. So when I was little, I actually like. Sorry, let me answer that question in a bit. But when I was little, I would read these books that say like snakes' jaws are not connected, and I was like, wait, what? How does that work? Because I guess I had the assumption that they were not connected back here. But the reality is that the front 2 things are not connected to each other. So then they can kind of like use these as separate arms, and then move the food in, just like I'm doing like here. So yeah, and in fact, each one of these bars with the rows of teeth moves independently. So snakes don't have any arms or legs, but they have to like live in a world where they compete with animals that have limbs, And then they have to they're and like on top of that, they're also predators, so they have to like eat them, right? So then, like they've actually evolved, have this like evolved this ingenious system where they've converted their like their heads to hands. So basically, like imagine that like uh you have a snake skull, but it's like a hand with six fingers. In that each one of these like elements with the each one of these bars with the teeth moves independently. So it's each one of these is a finger, right? So then they can like manipulate and pick up items really well by using their heads in this like sort of hand-alike manner. At some point, I want to do a post on that because it's just such an incredible like ingenious system. Anyway, um, yeah. Anyway, this guy actually has some stains right here. Probably needs additional cleaning. So I'm gonna go back to this question. Michelle says, does the tendon not deteriorate? That's a really good question. Because there's a lot of different ways to clean bones. You can clean bones by soaking them in water and letting bacteria have at it. You can clean bones by giving them to beetles and having the beetles clean the bones. Um, Different methods have different advantages and disadvantages. When you just soak skulls in water and have the bacteria rot off the flesh, that's fine, but the bacteria actually like uh, does everything at the same time. So meaning that it like the bacteria falls apart. Sorry, not falls apart. The bacteria makes the bone just fall apart all together at the same time. But if you use beetles, beetles are like beetles are these like higher order animals. They're at least they're higher and more complex than bacteria, right? So beetles actually have preferences. So they prefer to eat the meat, and then they prefer to eat like the tendon, and then they prefer to eat like the other associated connective tissue. So they eat it in a stepwise fashion. So they'll go through and they'll eat all the good stuff first, the meat, and then they'll go through and they'll eat the stuff that they don't like as much, the cartilage, and then they'll go through and they'll eat the tendon, right? So, but since they clean in like, but this is a process that happens over maybe several weeks. So, like when you watch like not documentaries, dramas like Bones or other crime dramas, they just like it's almost like I want to say like dipping, the skull in beetles or something, and they just take it out and it's clean, and it's this like sort of very dramatic, uh, cleaning process. It doesn't happen that way. What actually happens is that you put the animal in, and then it takes like uh, at at a minimum of several days, depending on the size of your colony, but usually like weeks. It depends on how you run the colony and what style of colony you want to run, but usually it takes a period of time. When you see like beetling videos online, they're always time lapses. They're almost never like real time videos. That takes a long time. But my point is that since it takes a long time, you can just take it out at any part of the process. You can watch them and see that they're done with the flesh. Oh, they're done with the cartilage now, and the connective tissue is next. And then that's when you just like take it out and shake off all the beetles. So then, like, in that sense, like, things remain attached, right? So, and that's actually how you clean snakes. Like, I've done a lot of snake skeletons in the past, and I can probably go grab one, and maybe later. But like, when you clean snake skeletons, nobody actually cleans them and puts them together. That's a lot of work. What really happens is that you just keep them from falling apart. You're just like really obsessive in tracking the time of like when the last, tissue that you don't want is eaten versus the tissue that you want is getting started to go away. So then you just like track that moment, and then you like, take it out. And like you actually like depending on the size of your colony, you can have some leeway. Like if you have a slow colony, or if you set up your colony to be really slow, um you can have like over a day, but sometimes like if you have a very active colony, it's a matter of like hours. You have like half an hour or an hour to remove it before it like starts falling apart. So yeah, it's just like, tracking stuff. So anyway, um, so yeah, where was I? Oh, Michelle says, "Oh, that's fascinating. Thank you." Yeah, there's a lot of like, I don't know, just kind of stuff involved with beetling that's like really interesting. I think there's like online tutorials and stuff like that, right? But like in the end, it's more of just a hands-on learning process. Um, this guy has a python, but he's got a like a broken tooth. He's got an infected tooth root right here, which is interesting and not something that you typically see in pythons or snakes. Um, let's see. I'll work on. And then there's a lot of like just random loose bones in here that I can probably match to their respective skulls. It's funny, like when I was little, I would like watch these videos about like paleontologists, and they would like, and paleontologists would like pick up like, uh, they'd pick up bone fragments off the ground or in amongst pebbles or something, and they would be like just a mess of like random bones from random animals. And then like when I was, you know, little, or at least when I was younger, I was like, how do people know which bones came from which skeletons or which animals? Like that has to be impossible because like it's just like there's so many like how do you know, right? It's like pouring a jigsaw puzzle on the table and then like picking up a piece and be like, aha, this is, piece number like 34 in row 2, column 14 or something. Like how do you know that? It must be impossible. Like I don't think it's really possible. But like um but actually it's based on bone's shape and sort of knowing what is in the area or and knowing what uh sort of exists, right? So this is kind of a microcosm. So like eventually like I was able to do this, and then like and it's actually not that bad. So basically, I there's a lot of loose bones in here, but I kind of on some level know like the parameter of animals that I've cleaned, right? So I know that these are all reptiles. I know that they're mostly snakes and lizards. I don't remember ever like having cleaned like crocodiles or all these like different types of reptiles. So I know, so there's a general parameter of what's in here, and then it's just like recognizing the shapes. Like here is a jaw fragment from a snake. um this right here is a brow bone from a snake. This is a bearded dragon skull. This is a nose bone from another snake. The little like T-shaped thing is the nose. Yeah, so just stuff like that. These are jaws from bearded dragons. Yeah, this is a lizard jaw. It looks like monitor. And this is a blue-tongued skink skull. And it's missing some pieces of the brain case, which would be in there too. But yeah, anyway, it's actually just based on shapes. It's actually not that bad. So it's funny because like I'm like terrible with things like Legos and stuff like that. Like I mean, there's been a couple of times past few months I've bought Lego sets, and I can't like find where the pieces go, and I've like just given up on them. Especially like the micro block ones, they're just so incredibly frustrating. Like they're small, they're difficult to handle, and then there's like thousands of them in a kit. And I'm like, how do people deal with this? So Michelle asks, hey, yeah, thank you so much for like asking all these questions, by the way. Are there specimens that you want to work with that you haven't yet? Live animals. I want to work more with live animals. So like part of the like I've for the past I want to say 8 years or so I've just done necropsies. So basically like I get to see how things fall apart, and I get to see like like I'll open up, I mean I could like on I think on Friday or Saturday I might do a dissection stream where like you open up animals and you see like um what has gone wrong and how and when. So you get uh this sort of story that about their life that is at the very end, and you have all the pieces and they're just disjointed, right? So imagine I had a comic book and then like I cut the pages out and then I cut the panels out and then I just like mixed it all together, right? So then like when you have that, you can actually like take the panels and try to reconstruct a story based on, the sequence of events. So like uh that's something that, do with dead animals where you get a, like a larger overhead picture of what their lives are like. But I think it would be interesting to see more animals alive and see like their diseases, and how that affects them and what their behavior is like and so on and so forth. So like I think like yeah, it would be cool to work with live animals. And it's also I really also want to work with populations and groups. So uh sorry, I'm like this is a stream where I'm supposed to be assembling things, but I'm just talking. I hope you guys don't mind. Maybe I'll just assemble it. I'm like terrible at multitasking, so I end up like just talking or just assembling things. But okay. Sorry. The other thing is to get back to this is I want to work with groups. So groups in that like one of the things that has kind of happened to me is I I started out just putting together skeletons and uh a lot of sanctuaries, rescues, and just reptile breeders are like, here, have some dead animals. Like, what can you do with it? Why don't you like put together like one snake skeleton and then you can have these three other snakes to keep. And I'm like, oh, sweet. So like then I was just like um given a lot of animals, and as like when you put together skeletons and you post them online, people are like, oh, that's awesome. And then they'll other people will send you animals, and then when you then dissect those animals and you're like, man, look at these interesting diseases, then like other people will be like, look at diseases in my animals. Like, here, send you a bunch of animals. And so then you like slowly, like, it's an exponential inundating of animals. So then I just got more and more animals. And I actually just now reduced down to like one freezer and a refrigerator, but like before I moved last year, I had like two freezers. It was like difficult to go through. And at that point, I'd even stopped accepting animals. Like right now, I'm still not accepting animals because like there's just too many. But anyway, I mean, that's a good problem to have, right? So the thing is, when you get a lot of animals and you're working with them all the time, you start to see trends in like these animals. Like it's not people think that doing necropsies is like you open up an animal and then like you're like a new and interesting disease, like oh my gosh, I'll google it and stuff like that. That was true when I started. Like when I started like a number of years back, I was just like everything was brand new and amazing and interesting, and I was like learning all this stuff about like different types of reptile diseases and stuff like that. But right now, like I have like 30 chameleons in the freezer, and I can guarantee you that 90% of them will be reproductive disease. And like mostly right now, I'll open up something and I'm like, oh, it's a respiratory infection yet again. So, that makes it less exciting because I'm not seeing new things anymore. Pretty even the really rare diseases, like I saw a snake with scurvy about a month ago where the skin was just like peeling off when you touched it, and I'm like, and that's a really exciting condition, right? Like actually like I'll post about that stuff online, and like vets will reach out and they're like, I've never seen this in my career, or I've seen this once a long time ago, or I've read about this, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, that's great. I've seen it like 5 or 6 times. So like, even like the rare stuff, my point is even the rare stuff I've seen a lot. But my question is like, why? Like, why does this stuff happen? And why is like why are some of these things so common? And those are the kind of questions that I want to explore. So then, uh, I want to work with groups of animals, like compiling this kind of data that I see, and also the owners of the animals, like sanctuaries, what's contributing to all of these different types of diseases that you see in reptiles. Like, why do I keep seeing the same injuries in wild animals? What why is this? So these are like overlaying questions of why, right? So for example, I made a post a while ago about broken teeth in coyotes, where a lot of coyotes will like they're dogs, and dogs have this reflex where if they get caught in a leg hold trap or something snaps down on their leg, they bite on it immediately. So I was seeing uh coyotes. So I made this post about coyote skulls with a lot of teeth chips and breaks, and that's a sign that they were caught uh in a leg hold trap, right? Like one of those traps that snap down on the foot, right? But I only know that because I've seen this trend, and I've seen at this point literally hundreds of coyote skulls that have the broken teeth issue. Because the first time I saw it, I'm like, huh, what is this and why? But now having seen this hundreds of times, I'm just like, okay, so this is actually based on the reflex when they get fall into a certain kind of trap. But okay, then that brings up more questions. So then, uh, do is this only seen in parts of the country where those traps are legal? Do you see this? Do they escape traps, and how do they deal with the dental damage? And also just things do you see this? Is this a modern thing? Do you see this in only types of traps that are, trapped, coyotes that are trapped within the last, 20 years or something? Like, what if I went to a museum and saw coyote skulls that were trapped in the 1800s or the 1700s? Do they still have this? Like, what types of traps were used back then? Like, these kinds of questions, right? So, sorry, this is kind of a long tangent. So, are there specimens you want to work with that you haven't yet? I would like to work with living animals to better understand their behavior and how that relates to their anatomy. And also, I would like to work with systems. Not systems is such a technical term. I would like to ask more questions on how things happen, why, and the sort of overarching larger whole. So, a couple of people, hey, a couple of you have questions. Interesting tangents, welcome. I'm sorry, I'm this stream was supposed to be 40 minutes. It's been 30 minutes and I've not put together any skulls. I'm sorry. I don't know, I might keep talking. Sorry. So anyway, maybe I should do a podcast instead. Maybe a stream is not the best format. I don't know. We'll try it out. But yeah, so people were asking random question, but have you ever worked with turtle that has shell rot? Yes, many of them. Do you know how it affects the bone? It eats into the bone. So, shell rot. So, okay. So, do I have a turtle shell? Okay, wait, hold on. Let me grab something real quick. I can't find. Can I not find my thing? Okay, wait. Maybe I'm not able to find my thing at the moment. God damn it. Okay. Shoot. Never mind. Okay. So the way that turtle and tortoise shells work is that they have a keratin overlays over the shell itself. So there's the shell, which is made of bone, but then there's a kind of a fingernail overlay that goes over that. There's situations such as stress, discussing living conditions, too much moisture, just immune failure, injuries, stuff like that, that causes a chip or some kind of way for the bacteria to get between the shell and the between the bone of the shell and the like the outer fingernail layer, right? So that stuff happens. It can also happen from internal infection because sometimes when the animal is super stressed, um, so it's not like it's not like there's the fingernail layer and then the bone layer just against each other. There's a layer of tissue in between there, right? And that tissue has like nerves and blood vessels and stuff in it. This is why you see all those videos where you like, where people are like scratching tortoises' backs and they like look super happy, or like, they'll like lean into touch because the shell is alive, and the shell, like they can feel things on that shell. And they can feel things on that shell because there's a layer of like nerves and blood vessels underneath, like underneath the outer keratin layer, the outer fingernail like layer. So sometimes like they can have diseases where it's like it just gets, it's not diseases, like they can get into situations of stress or bad living conditions where it just gets really inflamed. Like think about like all the times you're under a lot of stress and for no reason at all your gums start getting inflamed. Like that's a thing that happens, right? And like this random stress related inflammation just happens, and then like bacteria get in there, and then the bacteria colonize that area and they start like um eating away at the bone underneath it, and then also the tissue around it. So the reasons are inflammation from stress, injuries, like if there's like a cut or something, or trauma to the shell, but also like in situations where, like I've seen this in situations a lot where uh like people will confuse turtles versus tortoises. Turtles live in water. They're the turtles that you see swimming around in like creeks. Tortoises live on land, and they live in fairly dry conditions. So then, like, um, uh, a lot of times, like, I see this so much in rescues. It's like frustrating and ridiculous, but like people will pick up like a box turtle or something out in the woods, and they'll be like, "Oh, a turtle. It's actually a tortoise." But anyway, so they'll be like, and they'll set up like, a tank that's half water, and like in the bottom of the tortoise is submerged all the time, and then it develops a shell infection, and then like and the animal's super stressed because it's like, imagine like your apartment is flooded and you're just living in knee deep water all the time. Wouldn't that stress you out? So like, yeah, the animal's super stressed, it's in the water, and then like the water has bacteria in it, and then uh like the bacteria get into that the tissue layer between the shell and the fingernail layer that's on the outside, and it infects it, and then it like the infection sets into the bone itself. So this is a long tangent. I'm sorry, what was the original question? Okay, have you worked with a turtle that had like shell rot, and do you know what affects the bone? So it actually eats away the bone and makes it real porous. I don't have a tortoise shell to show you right now. I actually do have a huge tortoise shell sitting underneath the table over there, but it's really large and like 20 pounds. Okay, well, I'll just, that should be a different thing. But anyway, maybe I'll just show you on better, just a normal example, because bones in animals actually react the same way. Let's do this python and this raccoon. This kind of injury is actually something you see a lot, by the way, but okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So whenever bone gets infected, the area around the bone will get inflamed, and what you're gonna see is that you're gonna start to see these sort of porous, the pores form around the bone. And what the pores are is so bone is alive, right? So even though it's smooth and solid, it's actually alive. So when you have like a infection in the bone, there's a need for the body is like, oh shit, need to deal with this. So then they try to start to move, you know, uh, like white blood cells and stuff into that area, and the area becomes inflamed. And when areas become inflamed, the blood vessels get expanded. So then, like you have like the blood vessels get expanded. There's like small holes in the bone around for not only for capillaries, but also like um, the infection itself eats into the bone and it causes this like porosity. So here is a raccoon. Maybe I can like hold it closer. Move it back a little bit. Move that up a little bit. Sorry. So I don't. Can you see? Can people see? So this guy has an infected tooth root, and the bone is like very irregular, and there's also a lot of pores in the bone. That's how you tell it's infected. Basically, anytime you see a lot of like pores in a bone, that means that there is some form of inflammation. So then, in your turtle shell, you would be looking for areas that are rough and porous. So yeah, that's how you look for areas that are infected in for shell rot. In terms of shell rot, it's usually the bottom side of the tortoise. Like it's not like the likelihood of shell rot happening over the entire tortoise is not necessarily as common as the bottom side of the tortoise and the back of the tortoise. So like the bottom back is like the most frequent areas of shell rot, and you'll see like the bacteria get into like that central place where the scutes meet on the bottom of the tortoise, and then they'll start moving their way outward. So yeah, here is another example of bone infection in this time in reptiles. Even so, that was a raccoon skull that I showed off earlier, but this is a python skull, and you can see that the tooth root here is infected, and he's got some bone loss in this area. Honestly, this kind of stuff is real common because reptiles get mouth rot a lot. And mouth rot is it's here's the thing. In your mouth, there's naturally occurring bacteria, and that they just live there. That's a normal part of life. But when you're in a situation where you're immunocompromised or you're under a lot of stress and your immune system is not functioning well, those bacteria can overgrow and it can start like damaging the tissues of your mouth. And this happens a lot in snakes. You see this all the time. And once they start overgrowing, they can also like travel into the tear duct right here and then infect the eye. So these are all like terrible situations. But this is actually one of those things that you see in people too. In HIV, one of the first signs is oral thrush. So people with HIV, like one of the early symptoms is a oral infection of this like of Candida albicans, a type of yeast. So it's an oral yeast infection that happens in the mouth. I mean, okay, first of all, that sounds super gross because like yeast infections, people associate them with other parts of the body, but it's not necessarily true. There's like naturally occurring yeast everywhere. There's naturally occurring yeast in the mouth and so on. So um, so then like people with HIV that are immunocompromised, what you'll see one of the things that happens early on is that they'll start having this oral infection from bacteria and yeast that are naturally occurring in the mouth that overgrow. And it's a sign that the immune system is not having a good handle on suppressing them. So yeah, I don't know how I got on this tangent, but yeah, mouth rot in snakes. Yeah, mouth rot in snakes. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so to answer that, um, Taman says, keep going. This is really interesting. Thank you. Thank you. Taman's helping me out with the stream. She was the one that kind of like pushed me to like, you need to do a stream. Get on YouTube. um, yeah, because I've always just streamed on Instagram and stuff like that. I actually like the video quality of YouTube because it looks a lot clearer than Instagram and Facebook. So, this might be a good to do this in the future. So anyway, Pepito COVID-91 says, you should totally do a podcast. I'll be listening to you all the while I'm drawing. This is super interesting. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. So like it's just me, right? Like I guess like it would be more interesting to do a podcast if I got like a bunch of people over, like a bunch of vets or vet techs or something, and we just like discussed stuff. Maybe. Let me see if I can set that up. Um, Thank you for your answer. Super informative. Couldn't find any info about this online. Oh, yeah, sorry. So, like, here's the thing with reptiles and a lot of exotic animal diseases. Like, okay, wait, let me get back to this. So like, how do you find information? Like, what exactly is knowledge, right? So a lot of times people think that there is like what you're looking for, like information about diseases, anatomy, and animal behavior and stuff like this is in published papers. And like you see this a lot where people are like, okay, where's the paper? Link me the peer-reviewed study, right? But the thing is that like science and research has limitations. And sometimes like you a lot of the information that people are looking for is not necessarily in papers. Here's a good example. Like uh most people have probably heard of this, but we've actually discovered a lot of new species in the past number of years by talking to indigenous people in various areas of the world. So, like, science would be like, it looks like, I don't know, looks like there might be something here. And then they'll go over to like the indigenous people living in the area and they're like, oh, yeah, we see this forest antelope all the time. You want to see some pictures here? I gotta hide and, stuff like that. But like, that kind of like anecdotal knowledge is not considered science per se because it's anecdotal and it's not peer reviewed and like a lot of people have problem with that and accepting the validity of that. um Now these are obvious examples, but you got to apply that to other people too. Like, who knows about behavior of like reptiles and reptile diseases and how they respond? Is it scientists? Maybe. Is it vets? Well, vets only see something if things go wrong. Who would that be? Like, who actually has this information? It's keepers. It's people who deal with these animals on a daily basis. So then like I see this dissonance in like not only the reptile community but other research communities where people who have like real life experience dealing with these types of animals have a lot more experience that's not necessarily like accepted by the scientific community or published, or there's nobody doing research in this area. But that understanding is actually still really valuable and good. That like on some level, like we've set up a system where there is a monopoly on knowledge and what is considered legitimate knowledge. And I hate that. And it's not like it hurts everybody. It's not a real thing. So like pretty much like everybody everybody has a piece of the world, right? Like you have experiences and anecdotes that like are just valid as like collecting data. Like they're just as real, you know? So like how did I get on this tangent? I'm sorry. Like to answer your question, didn't find any information about it online. Like the information that you're looking for, it could be in published papers. It could be in veterinary forums. But it could also be just the experiences of other keepers. It could be going to forums or Facebook groups and talking about your experiences or other people's experiences. It could be going to, reaching out to older keepers in your area or people who have dealt with these animals in the past to talk to them about their experiences and like what they have seen and stuff like that. So like all of those methods are valid information gathering techniques. And I think like being open to all of that is really important. Um, yeah. I didn't mean to get on this tangent. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. So to get back to the comments, and thanks for the answer. Yeah, the shell piece I have is very much a typical porous look. It's round spot. Not sure what piece of shell it is though. If you want to send me a photo or something, I could take a look at it for you. Uh, yeah. Dude, it's 11:46. Um, this is supposed to be a 40-minute stream. I'm supposed to end the stream, but I didn't put together anything. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, you know what? How about if I just put together this one ball python skull and then we'll call it a day? Yeah? Nobody's answering. Actually, it's set to talk chat. Let me see. Is there a live chat? Oh my gosh. Wait. Okay, yeah, there's more stuff. Okay, people saying any quantity is cool. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, sorry, thanks for accommodating. Um, yeah, like I'm really excited about this stuff, and a lot of times I just want to talk about it, and like also like I think I may have like attention issues. So like then I end up getting on all these tangents and stuff like that. Nah, thanks for streaming. Thank you. So okay, just to make this like just to make good on my like, I'm gonna put together bone stream. I'm gonna put together this ball python skull. Um, this is very small, but in fact, it is actually like a typical sized adult ball python. This guy would have been like 4 to 5 feet long. Um, Snakes have really small heads. Like, when you look at like I've shown people this skull, and they're just like, pshaw, it's so small. This is not even the like if I put together this python skull, it's going to be the same size as this fox skull, right? But this fox skull is probably a 25-pound animal at most, and this snake is a 260-pound animal. So, like, this is an animal that, like, this fox would have been an animal that I could have picked up in my arms, or maybe like scruffed him and like picked him up in one hand or something. This guy was 23 feet long. This girl is 23 feet long, and it took like 3 people. Oh, no, no, actually, the vet tech was there that day. 4 people to pick up with difficulty. So, like snakes in general, they just have like yeah, really small snakes. You're oh my God, a snake skull that is the same as the fox skull is colossal. I know, right? Like people take it for granted that mammals just have really large heads. Like we have head privilege or something. Like at some point, I want to do uh, like a series on privileges that people don't think about. But like head size privilege is one of them. Um, this guy. So this guy actually requires a lot of work, and he's got some attached flesh, and I don't want to put him together right now. So this guy, if I put him together, so here's the front of the head and the back of the head, and this guy would be the almost the exact size of this fox skull. And yeah, but this guy is enormous. Like this snake, the body was like the midpoint of the body was like the size of my waist. It was a huge snake. But anyway, but yeah, it's like snake skulls are always like really unimpressive in their size, and it's a shame. Like it's not, yeah, yeah. But anyway, how did I get on this? Sorry. Um, so Ariel says, just saw your post on this. I joined late, but I'm glad you're still on. Yeah, yeah, we're 10 minutes over, but I just ramble a lot. And also you didn't miss anything. Like I have like basically like it's been 50 minutes. I've gone through this box, and I have like, you know, uh taken out some bones and have not put together any bones. So yeah, so you didn't miss anything. Um uh Zelaine says, yeah, that's a sausage and a half. Yep. These are some of the biggest snakes I've worked with, honestly. Um, yeah, Broccoli Fox says, how crazy animal proportions can be, especially when it's the size of the animal you've seen pictures of, completely different size. Oh my God. Like, holy shit. Like, I actually, like, there's so many examples of this that I really want to, like, this is more posts that I want to put together because, like, you see like ads where like it's super skinny models, and they're like showing off these like unrealistically small swimsuits and stuff like that, right? But like, and people are always fairly realistic about like, hey, someone who's had several children probably won't look like this without tons of work. Like that, like people recognize the unrealisticness of like body image and ads, right? You know what people don't recognize? The unrealisticness of things like wildlife photography or scientific illustrations or general and just books on animals in general. Like the way that animals are portrayed in photography and stuff like that is often really inaccurate. One of the things is size. So like when you look at photos of sea slugs and like nudibranches, you expect them to be like the size of a Twinkie or something like that, right? Or at least this size, or at least this size. But the reality is that those animals are like more like they're more like that. So like they're really, really tiny. And a lot of times you see like animals are just never the size that you expect them to be. Like, um, okay, there's so many examples. I'm like having trouble like locating one. Um, but yeah, actually, I'm sorry, like running off on this tangent. But yeah, animal sizes in the media as depicted are super fucked up, and it's a mistake that is often perpetuated by like scientific illustration. You have seen like you see like people draw like scientific you'll see like an illustration of the forest with all its animals, and then you'll see like like the deer or the badger and stuff like that. A really common one is you'll see like pictures where people have drawn animals of the ocean, and then they'll have like a whale next to a ray, next to some fish, next to sea lion, stuff like that. So those animals aren't to scale with each other. So, and it happens because like people will Google up like, people will be illustrating a picture and they'll be like, okay, I need to put a whale in here and a seal in here, and they'll Google up these individual pictures, and then they'll like assume how large they are in proportion to each other based on their like general impression, and usually the general impression is wrong. So then like it leads to this public perception of like animals being a lot larger than they are or a lot smaller than they are. And it's this is just one of those things that everybody has, but that they don't know. um Sorry, anyway. Sorry, I got in the same. Zelaine asks, what is the blue and black instrument you got there? This is UV glue. So this is so it's UV resin. I use a bunch of different types of glues for different situations. For reptile skulls, I find it most helpful to use a UV based resin. And what this is like if you go to the dentist and they like glue your teeth in place, they'll like dab a little bit of UV resin on your teeth, and then shine the UV light on it, and that's what solidifies it, right? Also, it's used in nail art a lot. Um, I am less knowledgeable about nail art than I am, and yeah, sorry, I probably see my nails. They're super chewed up from like handling various glues. So anyway, what I do is I can just demonstrate how this works. For snake skulls, it's super important that they like line up. Okay. So there's a loose bone on the palate right here, and I can just kind of like demonstrate how this works. So I will dab the glue on there and then press the bone together. Oh. There we go. And then like in the back, there's a little UV light, so then you can just shine it on the bone. And here, can you guys see? Yeah, you'll just shine it on the bone, and then uh it sets it. It sets it just a little bit, right? So like what I'm not looking for like a super hard bond or anything like that. You gotta realize that like there's a lot of steps to things where like right now I'm trying to get the bones in all their appropriate positions. So I use the UV glue to sort of solidify them into their appropriate positions, and then I'll come back with a more serious glue, and then like actually like glue all solidify those bonds. So basically UV glue, the UV resin glue is actually like semi, what's it called? It's semi flexible after you glue it. So then you can, kind of move it around or just, figure out like what to do. You can also fairly easily remove it. So yeah, um gluing for me is like a multi-stage process a lot of the times where I'll glue something as a graft, and then like if all the pieces are matching up and look good, uh then I'll come back and like glue it as a final, right? So now this piece is solidified, looks okay. So and the reason that I do that is that like um the way that things fit together, like reptile skulls have a lot of pieces. And if you glue one piece just a little bit off, you can sort of perpetuate errors that down the road are really, really off. So an example of this is so for example, like with the pyramids, right? So the pyramids, all the bricks have a precise fit. Uh, but imagine that if they didn't have a precise fit and there was at the very base of the pyramid, there's like two bricks that are like off by an inch, right? So that means that the next layer might be off by an inch and a quarter. Next layer would be off by an inch and a third, and stuff like that. So then that error propagates itself to be larger and larger errors until like the entire thing is skewed. And because of the way that reptile skulls work, it's easy to propagate those types of like small errors that then compound into even larger errors. So that's why like you don't want to like glue it and have it be solid like in the first try. That's a recipe for like, a lot of redoing later on. So like I don't know if you can tell specifically from this skull, but like you can see that like this side is a little bit more pushed in than this side. This means that if I glue the jaw on right now, it would like be lopsided. So then I have to push this side out a little bit, sort of solidify it in a sense where it's matching and symmetrical. So yeah. Um yeah, Zelane says, okay, so Zelane says like money. Yeah, it's 1% of the number is quite huge. So yeah, that's actually exactly the concept. The concept of like compounding interest or compounding uh anything compounding or propagating. So Zelane also asked, does the glue ever harden more? Does it remain in a kind of mildly pliable state? It remains in a kind of mildly pliable state for the most part. Um, but well, okay, so like this is just one brand of UV glue, right? Others can get quite hard. Like if you get the ones used for nails or dentistry, they can get quite hard. This is the kind that they use to repair like electronics, like cell phones. So it's not as hard, and also it depends on what you do. Like what I could do is take it outside and set it in the sun, and it will be really really hard. Uh, but that's that's not really what I want. So I think it's kind of like the Beatles. It's kind of like cleaning something with Beatles and then taking it out when you need it to go out. It's like the glue is like this too, where you're hardening it like to a point that you need it to harden, not necessarily like, you know, it's not necessarily a binary thing. It's not like a one or zero. There's always an intergrade to things. But yeah. But yeah. Line says, cool. Thank you. Scientific Manuel Sosa says, scientific illustrator here is the scale is a bitch and it's hard to grasp from scenes. Yeah. Yeah, this is honestly like you know how like paleo art has like all these tropes? Like wait, you guys know what movie tropes are, right? Like movie tropes are stereotypes in movies and stuff where they like you see a character look meaningfully at the camera and then something's going to happen. That's sort of like these types of stereotypes, but these types of stereotypes exist everywhere. They exist in art, they exist in uh things like uh, different genres of art. Like in paleo art, it's really common to like depict dinosaurs as like very monstrous or like they're fighting each other all the time, like that kind of thing. Whereas like in scientific illustration, um, there's also certain trends that are just not helpful. Okay. Sorry, I'm just gonna glue this real quick. So this is like a little bar associated with the jaw. And then the glue itself actually is mildly sticky, so then like you can kind of like stick it to a section and then have the its own adhesiveness work for you. So or stickiness work for you. And Yeah, that's how it works. Sorry. This is a good way to dissect it. Also, so broccoli foxes is really fascinating. A puzzle into life. You mean the skull itself? Yeah, like I think like putting together bones is actually a lot easier than putting together like uh puzzles. Like I suck at puzzles and I have like no patience for them. Earlier I think I mentioned that like I'd like given up on a number of Lego sets because like they were hard. Um but but like some level the bones are just a lot easier because you can tell where they go based on their shapes and you can tell what they do based on their shapes. So then like you can like the bones themselves like will give you information about where they need to go and stuff like that. So yeah, this is probably so yeah, there's a lot of like I don't know, this kind of work has a lot of just like assembly and stuff like that associated with it. Almost everything will have to be assembled once it's cleaned. So, uh, yeah, so spend a lot of time gluing stuff together. Um, and also just like really fine work in terms of dissecting fish and diagonizing them and stuff like that. But yeah. Um, Zelane says, yeah, whereas a puzzle is pretty much a uniform style of pieces. Yeah, I know, right? So like that's actually really frustrating to me because like especially things like Legos where you just get like a chart of how to put it together and like if you make a mistake, you cannot really tell until later down the road. So I had this like a mini block like manta ray puzzle that I was trying to put together and then like for somehow I had like miscounted and then like missed a block at the very beginning and then like you have to like take the whole thing apart to like redo it and stuff like that is very discouraging. um so yeah, uh I don't know, actually like it would be cool if like there were more puzzles that were bone like or maybe that. Oh crap, I dropped it, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Drop my little UV light thing. Um, yeah, I think it would be great to see more puzzles that are like less uniform, and also like so here's the thing, right? I have a lot of friends who are interested in puzzles, and I've always like tried to get them to like be interested in like, helping repair bones or helping put together like skeletons and stuff like that. And there's never like, I don't know, there's never really any interest in that. And I'm like, but this is what you love, right? Right? And like it's like, no, not really. That's okay. I don't get it. I don't get like don't yeah, don't get why this isn't more popular, you know? But yeah. Oh crap. But right. So Elaine says bones are just cool. They're nice to look at. Yeah. Yeah, they are. They have a lot of bones have a lot of information on them, so then like there's so much stuff that you can just like look at them and be like, "Huh, that's what happened." Kind of thing. So they have like built-in stories, which is really really neat. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to just hold this steady while gluing. I actually have like one of those soldering platforms for um gluing. Should I if it gets real complex. So here is a ball python skull. He needs some reinforcement on this jaw right here. And there is definitely a small lopsided area right here, but yeah, that's what the UV glue is for, right? With snake skulls, I tend to try to make as many points of connection as possible because if it's just the jaw hanging itself by itself, like connected to one point, that is potentially easy to break, especially since like I people ask me about my collection all the time, but like I actually don't like holding on to things because like it's very easy to like hoard things. right? Especially, I don't know, maybe this is like just a tendency that I have, but it's easy to be like, oh, look, a raccoon with an interesting gunshot wound. Oh, and another one. This one's different because the gunshot wound is like slightly at a different angle. Oh, this one affected the bone differently. Oh, this is a third one. And a fourth one. Oh, a 15th one. I gotta hold on to this one because it's a, different caliber bullet or something. And then you just have more and more stuff. So like then like um blogging like becomes a way for me to not only like dump my thoughts somewhere, but also for me to like selling is a way for me to just get rid of stuff. Like it's um what I feel like, on some level, like once I've like if I have something really interesting and I blog about it and I tell its story, I've pretty much like done it justice. And then now it doesn't like I don't need to like hold on to it or keep it anymore and that it can like move along. So that like and I feel better about that because like instead of like having all these animals in boxes in storage, like they can move along to like somewhere else that appreciates their stories and I can keep getting new stuff in. So then I could like there's always like more skulls with interesting things to tell and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of like the why like a blogging thing. Um Zelena, so I get the feeling I'd start hoarding bones too if I started. Yeah, it's a real problem, especially like I mentioned earlier, where like I get tons and tons of animals. Once you start establishing a reputation of what you do, like people just like reach out and give you stuff. And then it's easy to like clean it and keep it and then like love it forever and then you like just amass boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. So yeah, that's it's not really great. And so try to move that along. But anyway, look, I put together one skull in an hour and 10 minutes. I'm sorry guys. So yeah, like I don't know, once I start talking about things that like the efficiency is actually kind of low. um but yeah, you know what? Uh, Somebody says, for some reason, remember bone china ceramic made from bone dust. Yeah, that is a thing. Should I get into this? It's a little longer. No, no, actually, maybe that save that for a future live stream or something. But yeah, anyway, I actually, need to move on to other things like shipping packages and stuff like that. But anyway, thank you so much for participating in my first YouTube live stream. It's super fun to just talk to people about this stuff and see people's questions. I'm sorry I only put together one skull, so maybe next time I will put together more skulls or try to be more efficient or something. So I think I'm gonna have like two more streams this week just to see how it pans out and what kind of like time slots and what kind of thing like uh is interesting for people. So the next stream will likely be me going through boxes. So I have all these boxes of like wet specimens and other specimens that like have no labels, need to be reposed, or like, I'm just not sure what they are because the boxes themselves are unlabeled. So I'll probably be just going through those and talking about them. And then on either Friday night or Saturday, I haven't decided, probably Saturday, maybe Sunday actually, I'm gonna do a dissection. So just probably thaw one of the either one of the like the bearded dragons or chameleons or snakes and then just dissect it on camera and see what we find. So yeah, anyway, yeah, nice to see you guys. It's thank you so much for participating. And yeah, as Elaine says, dissection, yay. Yeah, I'm excited about the dissection too because like every time I dissect stuff on YouTube, it ends up like people show up and they're very excited about it, but YouTube's video, not YouTube, sorry, Facebook's video quality is so bad that a lot of times like you can't see anything. But anyway, this video quality is great, so be cool. So anyway, yeah, thank you so much for coming by, and yeah, thank you so much for just participating and being around to chat and stuff. And yeah, so yeah, I'll see you guys next time. All right, cool. Thank you so much. All right, bye.